Hey everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on Star Wars Return of the Jedi Infinix issue number 3. Now, as you know, the whole Infinix series is meant to be like what-if events for episode 4, 5 and 6. And yeah, there was never one for 1, 2 and 3, and I wish we could have got one. It would have been interesting to have seen what events could have happened in 1, 2, and 3. So, the point of the Infinix version of Return of the Jedi is meant to show what would have happened had the rescue attempt of Han Solo went wrong. And the cover mainly has Luke looking in disbelief, with Vader and Palpatine with him. And it starts off with, "Young Skywalker, what a pleasure to have you join us. I wish I could say the same. But one day you will be pleased to join us. One day the desire to join us will consume you. No, it won't. Too much is at stake for that." And we kind of see how the Emperor points out that he knows about the sort of message in that, and how he's going to have a sort of counterattack for the Death Star, and having a whole armada waiting at his command. We see how at the Rebel fleet, we see how a medic officer manages to get Han Solo out of the carbonite, but it turns out, due to the effects in that, and also the effects of the casket being damaged, the medic lets Leia know that Han Solo is now permanently blind, and says, "I'm afraid there's not much, Your Highness. The medic can tell you more. I am sorry." Of course. Thank you. And of course, you can tell Leia doesn't want to let Lando and Chewie know the bad news. But we see how in the briefing station, we see how Mothra kind of wants to see how Leia is. And we kind of see how there's a message from Luke. But later back in the sort of attack on Endor, we kind of see how some Rebel soldiers try to break through, but turns out they end up getting counterattacked by Empire forces. And we kind of see how one of the men say, "Raise those men and get them out of here." "I can't raise them, we're being jammed. We just walked into a trap." "What are we gonna do, sir?" "Those are our friends down there. What do you think we're gonna do? Attack!" So we kind of see how, Chewie is working with the ship with Lando, and we kind of see how Leia doesn't want to let them know about Han Solo's condition, and we see how the Rebel officer lets them know the message has now been sort of recorded in that. So after the message is played, it turns out Luke is at the Death Star, but doesn't let them know about it, but also lets him know that they learned that Darth Vader is his father, and that Leia is basically the sister of Luke, and lets them know, which Leia takes some time to process it. But of course, we kind of see how there's another message after this one, and it turns out it was Luke being taken by the tractor beam, but we kind of see how Leia knows that Luke might be at the Death Star. But we see how Admiral Akbar says, "Your Highness," to send a search party to go into the Death Star for Luke. And we kind of see how Lando and even Han don't want to go to the Death Star, and they don't know what might be in there. So Leia decides to kind of go to her quarters. And we see the Emperor saying, "Think of it, Skywalker. Can you already hear the screams of your friends? I feel your anger rising, but it is not yet enough for you to take up your lightsaber. But soon, when the screams of your friends are genuine, then we shall see. Yes, then we shall see." And we kind of see how Lando and that get the Millennium Falcon ready, and we see how Rebel officer lets them know that Slave 1 has been taken out of the hangar and went into hyperspace. And we see how Han and even Lando know what's going on, and decide to try and find Leia before she does anything stupid. And we see how Han decides to go with Lando, saying, even though he's blind, he's gonna go. And we see him saying, "Relax, pal. Well, coming with us. No arguments. I'm going, and I'm going. Of course, I'll need somebody to talk some sense into the princess once we get there. Just keep your hands off the controls. And we see how Slave 1 enters into the Death Star. And just as it lands, we see how Leia goes in guns blazing. And we see how one of the stormtroopers stun her. And after Lando and Han get to where the fleet are, it turns out it's a trap, leaving the rebels in a sort of dangerous counterattack, saying, "We've thrown the rat into a trap." And we kind of see how the Emperor tried to get Luke to join the dark side, but is let known by one of his higher officials that Leia has pretty much been captured, and this is where it's going to have an alternative event of where Darth Vader is going to turn good, and it's going to kind of have a big reveal at the final issue that's going to change the whole Darth Vader dying after stopping Palpatine. And yeah, issue 3 is sort of alright. Again, you can kind of tell it's trying to change things from episode 6, and I think some of the changes do work, because I would like to see one for episode 1, 2, and 3, like showing what would have happened had Qui-Gon Jinn or Obi-Wan died at the start of episode 1, and kind of having Obi-Wan to take on the role of trying to get to Naboo, or episode 2, like showing if Padme died and how Anakin would try to recover, or episode 3, where basically Obi-Wan turned to the dark side instead of Anakin, and having Count Dooku sort of become the good guy. It seemed like there would have been good ideas for episode 1, 2, and 3, but I think this one definitely deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.